All right, good morning. Okay, I'm excited for today to connect with you guys before I head out of town tomorrow. So we are going to continue to do these throughout the week. Brooke is just going to take over these for me, and I know that she's going to do an awesome job. So it'll still be the same time, same code and everything. It's just I won't be speaking. So I'm excited to do this today, but just because I'm not doing these does not mean that I'm not going to dive into my devotionals every day. I'm taking it with me on the trip. Anytime I go on a trip, I take them with me just because I still want to fill my cup up. So I had like a 2-hour drive home yesterday from Starkville, and what I was doing during that time is normally like I listen to a little bit of music just to kind of like get me pumped up and stuff, but for the most part I listen to sermon, and then I listen to personal development. And the sermon that I listened to yesterday was fruitfulness. Yeah, it was like fruitfulness, and it was the series by Michael Todd, and it was just really, really good. It was talking about like the fruit of the spirit and just like learning about all the ways to be fruitful and just abundance in your life and all the different things. And it was really, really good. And so that's actually what I looked up today to learn about and kind of talk to y'all about. And so I'll share with y'all what I learned, but this one's super short. So it's called, what is it called? Okay, it says spiritual fruitfulness, and then it says a deeper knowledge of God should produce fruitfulness in the life of the believer. In the Bible, fruit is a term often used to represent the product of one's life, its impact on others, and its usefulness within the plan of God. Also, what the Apostle Paul labeled as the fruitfulness of every good work in Colossians 1:10, for this reason also, since the day we heard of it, we have not ceased to pray for you and to ask that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will and all spiritual wisdom and understanding. Paul connected this fruitfulness of Colossian believers with being filled with the knowledge of God's will and all spiritual wisdom and understanding. You should always be challenging yourself to grow deeper in your knowledge and experience of God, realizing that the production of fruit is a natural result of putting in place these deeper roots of intimacy with God. Fruit is the visible outcome of this internal process of growth in the knowledge of God. In what area of life would you like to see more fruitfulness? Pray for intimacy with God, and it will come naturally. And so I'll kind of go off in like a couple of different ways, but what I learned yesterday from the sermon of Michael Todd, fruitfulness, it was saying that a lot of people don't like to bear fruit because it's like you're digging something in the ground, you plant your fruit, you plant your vegetable or whatever freak you want to call it, you plant it, and then often people go like 3 days or go a week or even go a month, and they dig up the roots and they look at the plant and they're like, okay, this is not where I want it to be. That's not good enough. And then plant it back in. And then 3 days later, a week later, a month later, they take it back out and they dig it up again. And so you're constantly trying to bear fruit, but in those seasons where you're getting irritated and in those seasons where you're trying to dig up fruit every single time you plant something and you're getting frustrated, you're seeing the process be prolonged. And so that's what he was talking about in one section of the sermon. He talked about a bunch of things, but that was something because I'm a visual learner, and I actually learned on Craig Rochelle's podcast that people, like 85% of people, connect more to stories than they do with statistics. And so I'm a story person, and so I connect. And so when he made me visualize that, I was like, that is so good. So often we can talk about this in the business, but we could talk about that with almost anything in our lives, with being consistent. And we know being consistent will literally attract so much in your life, but a lot of people don't have the discipline to be consistent because we're constantly pulling that root up. We're constantly pulling it up and we're looking at it. We're like, this isn't good enough. This isn't what I want. Dig it back down. And then it's taking another month to even start growing its roots again because you dug it up the first time. And so that's what it was talking about, being fruitful. And then it was also saying being fruitful is finding joy in God. And oftentimes we try to find our joy in the circumstances. And I know that I've talked about this before, but you weigh your joy on your emotions, and that's not necessarily how it's supposed to be. It's just like in this business, you don't do the task on how you feel that day. It's discipline, and that's where joy comes from, is God's eternal source of showing you that joy comes from him. And I told y'all last week or 2 weeks ago, they all run together at this point. I literally asked someone to do a host post for me and gave them a completely wrong month, so like my days run together. But he had mentioned that I just lost my train of thought. It's fine. It's totally fine. He said something about joy, and I was talking about joy. I do this all the time. it'll come to me in just a second. Just bear with me, you guys. But he was talking about joy, okay? And so oftentimes we relate joy to our outer circumstances. We relate joy to the things that we see on the outside, or people, how they think of us, or people's likes that they get. You guys, I was basing my joy off of whether or not I would get the island, or whether or not I had enough points to get to the island, and whether or not my team was enrolling that day. And I was basing my outer circumstances too much on my joy and depending on that. And that's why my wave of like happiness and joy or whatever was constantly going like this. And I was like telling Morgan, and I was just like, I don't get it. Like, nothing's wrong. I'm just not feeling, I don't feel happy today. And then that's kind of when I had the breakthrough. And I want y'all to have that major breakthrough of knowing that joy comes from him and planting fruit after fruit after fruit after fruit with him. And that's why I always tell you guys to start reading your Bible every morning. And he talks about it in there. And he was like, I don't know what else to tell you, but to tell you to start reading the Bible. And you have to start somewhere, because that's where the ultimate fruit comes from. And he was talking about he said that whenever you're going through life and you're going through a season where you don't understand, or whether you're going through anything, and even if you're not even going through anything bad and you're just like, you're just going throughout your day, but we do know from personal experience when things are going good, that's actually when we lean less on him. And I've really made it a priority not to do that. I've really made it a priority when things are going good. I'm so grateful in that moment that I'm just present, soaking up every single moment, because I know that it won't last forever. I know that it's not going to go away like suddenly. It's not anything like that, but it's just like, I'm going to enjoy the present moment. And he was talking about anytime you're going through a situation, say this over and over again. And I would have to listen to it again, but I like repeated it multiple times in the car. Say that God's got this and I trust him. God's got this and I trust him. God's got this and I trust him. And so whatever season you're going through, saying that over and over and over and over again, it's planting you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the ground. So do you not think of you as a root? If you are someone that is so deeply rooted in your faith, do you not think that it would take a very, 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 very gigantic, massive storm to uplift you? If you had weak roots, I just talked about this the other day with the palm tree, but if you had weak roots, do you think that it would probably take just a little bit of wind to knock you down? Yes. And so you want to be that deep-rooted faith. You want to have that joy and that deepness of love and knowing God, because I promise you, even on your rough days, it's going to be a lot easier. And that's what bearing fruit means. You can say it in a lot of different ways, but this is kind of what I got from it. And so bearing fruit is just really, really important. And it says in the Bible, fruit is a term often used to represent the product of one's life, its impact on others, and its usefulness within the plan of God. Also what the Apostle Paul labeled as the fruitfulness of every good work in Colossians. And then it says, for this reason also, since the day we heard of it, we have not ceased to pray for you and to ask that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will and all spiritual wisdom and understanding. So today I really want to not only ask you guys to really dive deeper into his word, but take more time bearing that fruit. Don't sit here and say, God, I'm not going to pray to you today because yesterday didn't go how I planned, or I prayed for something and you didn't even make that come true. So why would I pray to you today? I kind of shared this a little bit, but my mom's friend, her mom is going through cancer and it's really hard for her. And she's like, I can't even pray right now. Like, I can't even pray because what do I pray for? God, can you heal my mom? And then when he doesn't, I'm going to blame him. And I was like, that's such a true feeling. And you can't sit here and disregard that, And so, but if you are feeling that, and you're like, why would I sit here and pray? Because I know that it's not going to come true. That's when the faith kicks in. That's when you just have to trust that the miracle is going to kick in. And that's where honestly bearing fruit really happens, as well as you growing that fruit and knowing that God's going to supply all your needs, even if it doesn't go the way that you plan. And I think a lot of us are spoiled in a lot of ways. I think a lot of us are that one-sided feeling where we're like, oh, if it doesn't go this way, then it means it's not for me. And I'll tell you all this again, like I've told y'all, but a lot of people think that when you start having faith, that's when things get easier. And that's not necessarily the case. So when you feel like things are going hard in your life, the thing that we try to do, it's like a fight or flight response. Most people flight, most people leave. Most people are like, this is too hard. Most people are like, I can't do this. I would rather go back to my comfort zone that wasn't even comfortable, but I knew about it. I knew what to do in that situation. I knew when I struggled, I knew what to do. I knew to save money, or I knew to hold back for myself from spending or whatever, instead of just trusting it and saying, you know what, God, you're going to help me. I'm sorry, you guys. Cooper's doing his toy again. But that's something that I really want y'all to keep in mind, because I think a lot of people have that mentality. I have girls who join this business all the time. Oh my gosh. Cooper, come here. I have people who join this business all the time, and then like literally within a few days they quit because they're like, oh, this isn't what I pictured. And so guess what? I set the expectation before we even start talking, and I tell them you're gonna have to do work, and I ask them if they're coachable. If when they say okay to both of those things, I'm like, all right, let's rock. But if I talk to people and then I'm sitting here saying, oh, it's going to be so easy, it's cool. No, I'm telling you, you literally need to spend 2 minutes on your phone. You're good. And I used to say that to people, and I'm like, why would I ever say that to someone? I'm setting up a false expectation. And it's just like with God, if God were to write in the Bible, hey, it's going to be really, really easy. And then anytime it got hard, y'all thought that y'all would probably think that, okay, God lied or God wasn't real or whatever. Set expectations for yourself to know that it's not going to be as easy, but it's always, 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 always worth it. And so I really challenge y'all to dive deep today. And so many of y'all are doing the same things over and over and over and over again. And you're just seeing the same repeated cycles. And you're like, what's going wrong? What's wrong in my life? What am I doing? God, why are you punishing me? And you're doing the same thing. You're not even starting your day with reading your Bible. You're not starting your day with praying. The first thing that Jay Shetty says in his book with Think Like a Monk, he was telling y'all, and I had already told y'all about the statistic. I can't remember if it was Zoom or if it was prayer Zoom. I don't know. All these run together. But you waking up and you checking your phone about, I would say like about like 90% of the population does that. You checking your phone first thing in the morning, you're already getting your mind racing about all the things that could happen or all the scenarios that are happening or the people that texted you and someone was being rude to you, and you're letting about 10 or 100 strangers into your room immediately before you even brush your teeth or brush your hair. That's frustrating. Why would you do that? Why would you even think of doing that? Like, that doesn't serve you. So he said, next time you do that, train yourself, just roll over and just start praying. Even if it's a 5-second prayer, just roll over and say, God, thank you for waking me up today. Boom, done. That's all you have to do. And if you're like, oh, no, my kids act crazy, I don't have time. No, I can't do that. Y'all, my dog literally wakes me up every single day and licks me in the face and will not leave me alone until I get up. And so I don't have like a sleep in. Like, there's no sleeping in for me. He's a puppy. He wants 99% attention all the time, which I'm fine with. It holds me accountable. But just because I don't have kids doesn't mean I can't relate in some shape or form. Okay, your kids can act crazy all they want, but are you going to teach them, oh, that means that you can't sit here and pray because you just don't have time for the day? No, you're going to say, you know what, hold on 1 second. And then you're just going to say, God, thank you for waking me up for the day. As simple as that. Stop making excuses for yourself. Like, you making excuses for yourself is only putting you further and further and further and further and further back from your goals and the spiritual goal of what you have in mind. Okay. And so many of y'all are using that excuse over and over again, and it's time to graduate. It's time to graduate from that excuse and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take full ownership of this. And I have a girl in here who finally started doing the things that I told her to do. And she's literally texting me almost every day of the fruitfulness and the things that have happened in her life. And I'm not joking. I don't do these just for the sake of me saying, oh, I do these. I do these because I truly want to see people have such greatness happen to them, because I've seen what it's done for me. Even on my hard days, I tell you all the time, even on my hard days, they're better than what I used to have, like my hard days before I even knew God. They're 12 times better. I would rather have my hard days now than when I've had them back then. Okay. And so I just want y'all to know that, like, bearing fruit is going to take time. If you're just now starting on your faith journey, don't expect it to go really great in the first week or the first 2 days and expect all these miracles to flow to you. It could happen, but I'm not going to sit here and set up a false expectation. But I'm telling you, the more and more that you do it, you're going to look back a year from now and be like, wow, God got me through that. Wow, God brought me here. Wow, God made me this person, and I'm so dang proud of who I am. And it's just going to make you even fuller and fuller and fuller and fuller of life. And then soon your cup is going to overflow so much that you can't bear it all. And so you're going to have to give it to other people. And that's where I started leading this prayer Zoom. So I was like, I'm so excited to share the word. I can't bottle all this in. I have to share it now with someone else. And so that's why I started doing these, but also to make an effort to start praying over others. Like, I really wanted to make that a habit. And now I do that. But it's something that I just want y'all to experience yourselves, and I can talk about time and time and time and time and time and time again, but you won't know until you actually do it. So taking the step of getting on here is a step, but now it's time to graduate and go a little bit further. Do this and a Bible study. Do this and pray and do a Bible study. Start taking those stepping stones, and then soon it'll build brick by brick, brick by brick. You're going to have this house of faith where nobody can knock it down. You're going to have such deep roots. You're going to be so proud of yourself, and then you can start sharing the word, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then the people around you will start seeing that change, and they'll either grow with you or they'll die with you. They'll stop and say, you know what, this isn't for me, or they'll grow with you and be like, I want what you have. I want to see what you have, you know, and as people will start looking up to you, then you can share the word. And it's just such gratefulness, you guys. I don't even know how to explain it. It's truly life-changing. And there's obviously, y'all see my faith journey. Y'all see that I don't know every story of the Bible. I still get scripture wrong all the freaking time. I still have hard days. I still have where I don't act, like where I pray to God for a week and I don't hear from him or feel him or anything. I still have those days, but I'm very honest with you guys, and I'm telling y'all from one perspective to the other, where I was so broken before. You want to be on the side of fullness. You want to be on the side of bearing fruit. And it's really great. And if you are in a season and you're like, I just don't get why I'm going through these things in life. I don't get why every single thing is hitting me. I don't get why every single thing is happening to me. What is God trying to teach you and show you in this season? Is it so you can bear fruit and just trust him that the process is the process and that he's going to lead you through it? Or is it you do have fruit that's being bared and that you are seeing it rise and you are seeing fruit happen all over you, but you're so freaking focused on the big, like on the bad things, that you can't see the goodness happen around you? And I'll use this perspective that Jay Shetty shared in his book yesterday on my drive home, and then I'll ask y'all to put prayer requests below. Y'all can already start putting prayer requests below if you want. I don't think people can see this on the recording, but what he had said was it was a section of gratitude, and you already know what I speak about gratitude, so I don't have to go over that, but it was saying that think of it like this. And he said this woman was teaching this guy all about gratitude or whatever, and she said, okay, now go get a cup and go get salt. And a dude got a cup like this big and got salt, like a hand of salt, and she said, okay, put the salt in the cup. And he was like, okay. And she was like, hey, okay, now drink that cup. And he was like, why? And she was like, just drink it. He drank it, and she was like, so how was it? And he was like, oh my gosh, it was disgusting. Like, don't make me drink that again. No. And she was like, okay, now bring the same amount of salt and come to this pond over here. Or not pond, but lake. And then so we walked over to the lake, and she was like, okay, now put the same amount of salt in the lake, and then drink from the lake. And he was like, okay, kind of skeptical. And she's like, so how was it? He was like, oh my gosh, it was so refreshing. I didn't taste the salt at all. And so she was saying that the amount of gratitude that you have shows you that you can focus so much on the gratitude that you don't see the little saltiness in your life or the little things happening in your life that are bad. The more gratitude that you have, the amount that you can, the more gratefulness and the more good things that you can see. If you have a small cup of gratitude, you're going to start seeing those little tiny bad things happen, and it's going to overtake your cup. Okay, so be that lake next time. And she was saying, be the lake. Okay, don't be the cup, be the lake. Be overflowed with gratitude where you can't feel any bitterness coming to you. It just flows right through you. And so when she said that, I was like, wow, again, another picture in my mind that I can think of, because I'm such an image person. It was so good. And so just make sure to be overflowing constantly. Make sure to have your gratitude pool build up. Don't be a cup, but be like an overflowed pool. Okay, so think of it like that next time when you start focusing on the things that aren't going right or the things that aren't bearing fruit in your life. Ask yourself what God's teaching you in that moment, and ask God what he can specifically show you to do during that season. And whenever I feel myself drifting away, I just always pray for God to show me the direction on showing me what doesn't serve him and what's causing me not to feel as joyful as I do. And he always brings me back to the source, which is obviously reading my Bible. Okay, so hopefully that helps. And I'm really sad that I can't do these for the rest of the week, but hopefully this was kind of like a good end, but also a start for Brooke to do them tomorrow. So I'll stop this recording.